Welcome to the video on the mapping homework assignment. Before I go through the assignment and the sort of things you want to do, I want to just remind you of the purpose. So the purpose of the assignment is to visualize how the four representations of a function are connected: the graph, the formula, data table, and ordered pairs. The other purpose is to give you an opportunity to practice using academic language. A lot of that language you saw on the word wall, which was on the board. The slide at the end of this presentation has an image of the word wall, so you can use those resources. And finally, it's to give you an opportunity to practice using mapping as a learning and study tool. So mapping is great when you're trying to show how things are connected, and it just helps you solidify the information in your mind. Okay, so now let's go into the steps. The very first step that I recommend you do is you fill in the destinations. And what I mean by that is where it says data table, you want to fill in a data table. Where it says ordered pairs, fill in ordered pairs. For graph, the graph, and so on. I used the example in that handout that I showed you and you guys were using during class. You can just take this information straight from the slide. The data table, ordered pairs, graph, and formula you'll see in a moment shown here are all from the same function. So this is all from the same function. So again, you want to fill in those destinations. And here are the last two sets with the formula and equations, graphs and data table. The next step is you want to describe how you get from one destination to another along the arrows. So I saw some people writing it in, I saw some people writing it above, however you want to write it. The important part is you're asking yourself, how do you go from a data table to an ordered pairs? Notice the arrow is pointing from data table to ordered pairs. So along that top arrow, that's how I'm going to write it. And I would describe it as listing the points in order of least to greatest x values. And we discussed that in class. Going from ordered pairs to data table, we discussed this also in class. You first want to draw a table with an x and y column, then list the points from least to greatest x values as well. You're going to do this for the rest of these, with the exception of two, and I'll show you what those two are. So from ordered pairs to graph, how do you do it? You write that on this top arrow. From graph to ordered pairs, how do you do that? You write that on the bottom arrow. The last two sets are here as well. So from formula to graph, you should be able to describe how you do that. From graph to formula, some of y'all may know how to do this, particularly for a linear equation, but that's not for all polynomials, so we don't really know how to do this yet. So we're going to put a question mark on this bottom arrow. And similarly, going from a data table to a formula or equation, we don't know how to do this yet, so we're going to put a question mark. You should know how to go from a formula to a data table, however. So I'm expecting to see this arrow, the top arrow here, and from formula to graph filled in. It's just these bottom arrows that will not be filled in. All right, now you're all set to make your map. And the next step that I suggest you do is you're going to cut your pages into strips. So what I mean by that is you're going to cut along between these sets here. So you should have 4 strips. You can cut off the excess paper. I highly suggest you do that. So essentially you're going to have strips that just have the destinations, these arrows, and what you wrote along the arrows in it. Once you have your 4 strips, you want to arrange them so that they're connected. And the key thing is to make sure that the same destinations overlap. So what you'll notice is that data table and data table should overlap with one another. Formula and formula will overlap with one another. Ordered pairs over ordered pairs, and so on. You don't want to have a strip where the data table is overlapping with ordered pairs, for example. It must be the same destination. Once you've done that, you can staple or paste them onto the blank piece of paper that I gave you with the hole punches in it. If you don't have that blank piece of paper with hole punches, you can use any blank piece of paper that will fit into your binder, and we can worry about hole punching it later. And your map should look like this, except for everything will be all filled in. In class, I showed you another version of this, which had in the center something about the classification. We're going to work on that next time we meet. So you're going to see that the next time we meet. So you don't have to worry about filling in that in. If you've done it already, that's totally fine. Just know that we will be doing that when we come back together. Finally, here's the word wall that you can use with the verbs and the nouns to help you in describing your map. I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a quality evening.